All right, let's get right into it. What we're seeing all around us right now is, well, it's a massive global shift. The system that we've all known for the past 80 years, it's breaking down, and something new is starting to take its place.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's start with this bombshell of a statement from, of all places, the World Economic Forum. This one quote just perfectly captures the feeling that the old system isn't just evolving. It's being called a total failure by some of the very people who built it.
And that right there is the million-dollar question we're going to try to figure out today. When the old rules get thrown out the window, a huge power vacuum opens up. And right now, we're seeing multiple powerful groups all scrambling to be the ones who write the rulebook for the next generation.
So, to make sense of this whole thing, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the system we're leaving behind, then we'll meet the four major players on this new global chessboard, we'll check out their competing strategies, and then finally, we'll take a look at what the future might actually look like.
First up, the old world order. You know, you can't really understand where you're going until you know where you've been. So we have to grasp the game that's been played for almost a century, because that's the foundation that's cracking right under our feet.
So after World War II, the world kind of settled into this very specific arrangement where everybody had a job to do. You had China as the world's factory, Japan as the big lender, and Europe as the main consumer. And the United States, well, their role was to be the enforcer, the muscle that provided the security to make this whole thing work.
And the whole system was held together by something called the Proof of Weapons Network. The rules were actually pretty simple. You had to use US dollars, especially for energy, and you couldn't step on America's toes. You play along, you get access to global markets and US protection. You break the rules, well, you face sanctions, or, much worse.
Okay, so that was the old world. But as that system starts to crumble, let's call them four distinct power groups are rising up to take its place. So let's meet the new players on the chessboard and figure out what they really want. First up, you've got the financial globalists. The easiest way to think about these guys is as team money. They don't have allegiance to any flag or any country. Their only loyalty is to the free, unrestricted flow of capital. This group is your giant asset managers, think BlackRock, and all the major global banks.
Now, in the complete opposite corner, you have the sovereigns. These are the leaders of powerful nations who look at globalization and see a direct threat to their power. For them, what matters most is total control over their own country's laws, borders, and resources. Then you have the technologists. These folks are kind of different. They're not really driven by politics. They're driven by efficiency, by scale. They're the ones building the plumbing for whatever comes next, things like digital IDs and programmable money, and they'll sell it to whoever's in charge. And last but not least, we have the military-industrial complex. This is the enforcement layer, the muscle. Their power comes from force and intelligence, and here's the key thing. They're not ultimately loyal to governments. They're loyal to the financial powers that write the checks. Okay, so we've met the players. Now let's get into what they actually want to do. We'll start with the most powerful group, the financialists, because their game plan is all about one thing, the future of money itself. See, the big asset managers have a huge problem. National borders slow down money. Their solution, which you can hear from BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink, is something called tokenization. Basically, they want to put every asset on Earth, stocks, bonds, even your house, on a single global blockchain so it can be traded instantly 24/7 with no friction. But, and this is a huge but, the other side of the financial world, the central banks, they are terrified of this vision. As one central banker put it at Davos, their number one fear is the privatization of money. Why? Because it could make them totally irrelevant. It could cut them out of the system for good. So this creates a massive civil war inside the financial world. On one side, you have the asset managers pushing hard for tokenization to create one giant seamless global market. And on the other, you have the central banks scrambling to launch their own central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, just to keep their hands on the levers of control. And just to make things even messier, you've got another player jumping into the fray, the crypto lobby. They are directly challenging the bank's closed system vision. They're basically saying, hey, let's have some fair competition. Because they're convinced that if you create a level playing field, decentralized finance can offer way better products than the old school banks.
All right, let's switch gears for a second and look at the sovereigns, because their agenda is completely different from any of the financial players. For them, it is all about one word: control. This slide just perfectly lays out how these leaders think. For people like Russia's Putin or China's Xi Jinping, the top priority is not making money, it's national security. They are laser-focused on controlling their own energy, their own food, their own industry. And they are more than willing to sacrifice some market growth if it means they can guarantee that control and get a powerful seat at the new global table.
So, what do we have? We've got financial giants fighting over the future of money. We have powerful nations demanding control, and we have technologists building the tools for whoever wins. Which brings us, of course, to the biggest question of all.
Now, when you see all these incredibly powerful groups with goals that seem to be in total opposition, you think the logical outcome would be a long period of messy, unpredictable global conflict, right? Well, maybe there's another way to see this.
So here's a really provocative theory that came out of the source material. What if all the conflict we're seeing on the news, what if it's not a real fight for the future at all? What if it's just political theater?
This really gets to the core of this wild idea. The theory is that the big picture, the main outcomes of this new world order, has already been hammered out behind closed doors, and that everything we're seeing play out publicly, the conflicts, the tense negotiations, it's all just posturing. It's just countries jockeying for the best possible position within a framework that's already been decided.
And that, of course, leaves us with one final, and maybe the most important question. If the major moves on this global chessboard have already been made, and we're all just watching the actors play out their assigned roles, what in the world does that mean for everyone else who doesn't have a seat at the table? That's definitely something to think about.